Hi, thanks for tuning in. Linnell here with my friend and mentor, Phyllis. And we wanted to dive into, freedom, really. And this is our first of hopefully many videos. It's so important for us as citizens of the United States of America to stay informed so that we can preserve liberty and pass freedom on to the generations to come. In fact, Thomas Jefferson has a quote.
Thomas Jefferson says, if people expect to be ignorant and free, they expect what never was and never will be.
And certainly we're at a time that we have to fight for that. In my lifetime, Ronald Reagan gave a chilling warning.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. And we do need to value freedom. And so how much do we value the freedom for the next generation? What are we doing to preserve it?
We're doing a lot. We're doing what we can. I write a lot of emails.
Right.
My kids are like, Mom, you just write emails. But certainly we're both mothers. We care very much about not only passing freedom on to our kids, but the generations to come by all means. And our nation's founding was based on timeless freedoms and on preserving our God-given rights written in natural law. The Pilgrims sought a new place for the purpose of preserving and regaining religious freedoms because theirs had been violated. So we must preserve our individual liberties that are granted to all of us in natural law. Law that if you dig into it, it's written into human hearts. We know it's not right to murder, to steal, to lie. For the most part, across time, across the continent, people have held these views because, again, it's written on human hearts. And it's also expressed in our founding documents, such as the Mayflower Compact of 1620, where the people landing bonded together to create their own form of self-government. We have a quote.
We do. This is just an excerpt of a very small part, but it says, having undertaken for the glory of God and the advancement of the Christian faith, do by these present combine ourselves together into a civil body politic. And they were to do that to protect those rights.
And they banded together, honoring one another, honoring natural law, so that each individual freedom would be upheld. And now fast forward 1776 to our Declaration of Independence. It says why we were separating from Great Britain. Many of those natural rights had been violated, and so it was time to become our own country. Followed up 12 years later by the U.S. Constitution of 1788. It explains how we were going to do that. So the Declaration says what the problem is, and of course, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator by inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And so the U.S. Constitution explains how that will be accomplished, the framework for how the government is to operate. Whereas, again, the Declaration says why this is necessary and how it's based in natural law. So I want to reference natural law, which is sourced from the Bible and the Ten Commandments, which is the most quoted, the Bible being the most quoted document of the most quoted, most referenced piece of work in all our founding literature. And James Madison mentions that we stake our future on our ability to self-govern and what is foundational to that.
James Madison. We have staked the whole of our political institutions upon the capacity of mankind for self-government, upon the capacity of each and all of us to govern ourselves according to the commandments of God.
And again, those commandments of God upholds everybody's individual freedoms. It doesn't pick winners and losers. And it's so important that we can do that so we can maintain our ability to self-govern. Opposite of that is a tyrant coming and ruling us again if we cut the roots of our foundation and the reason and the ability to self-govern. We end up with a dictator.
Yes. So why has America changed so much? Our founding and our focus was so different than it is now. And that was not an accident. According to Antonio Gramsci, founder of the Italian Communist Party, any country grounded in Judeo-Christian values can't be overthrown until those roots are cut. And in the new order, socialism will triumph by first capturing the culture by infiltrating of schools, universities, churches, and the media, by transforming the consciousness of society. That's why we're not the same. There has been a organized effort to remove the knowledge of our founding documents and principles and basis for our freedoms. And they knew it. And they've worked it out of our rewritten history, done everything they can. So what do you do when you discover that you need to know something that's been purposely withheld from you? You go after it and you learn it. And that's what we're going to do.
I love it. Excellent. And I think the punchline that it continually comes back to is natural law and the 10 Commandments. Mm-hmm. We uphold the rights of the individual, and we don't just go murder some like communism.
Right.
We don't just take property away like socialism.
Right.
We uphold the rights of every individual. And so we're going to be exploring timeless truths that are needed to preserve our history, digging into our history, and going into perhaps what we didn't learn in public school growing up. And so remember our national motto, in God we trust. God gives us our liberties. Government can't take it away, but we have to be informed and act on those freedoms in order to keep them and preserve them for generations to come.
Right, and our founders were brilliant. The more you read of what they've said, you will be encouraged, I believe. But this one, Samuel Adams said, "If ever a time should come when vain and aspiring men shall possess the highest seats in government," gee, has that happened? "Our country will be in need of experienced patriots to prevent its ruin." So we need you, and we need to know the things that will bring us the freedoms back in focus.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. God bless.